There's an old saying that it's not about the destination, but the journey along the way. But when it comes to overlanding, it's both about the journey and the end destination. And it's about having everything that you need to get you there and back. It's about enjoying the scenery, the adventure, friends around the campfire, the meals, the shared stories and experiences. And like with any journey, it all has to start somewhere.
So this is our 5th gen Toyota 4Runner. It's 4-wheel drive, but it's the SR5 package. They kind of call it the minivan of the off-road world, but I'll take it. You know, it's got a lot of cargo room. You can throw all our camera gear, you can throw camping gear on it, take it a little bit off-road, but if you try to go a little bit faster than just kind of crawling around, you're definitely going to be jumping all over the place. First thing that we wanted to look at was the suspension. Like I said, this is not the TRD package. It's just a factory SR5, and it's kind of geared a little bit more towards general everyday use. But the downhill assist control definitely did help in a couple sections where there was some rough terrain on a downhill slope, and even riding the brake, had a hard time keeping control, keeping the tires planted to the ground. So definitely helped kind of minimize that, helped it kind of crawl a little bit more and be able to keep it under our control.
Obviously, having 4-wheel drive is a must to handle any terrain and not have to worry too much about getting stuck in the mud.
Performs beautifully out on the highway. It's pretty decent on off-road as long as you're not, hitting some whoops and trying to go, too fast. The big limitation that we found was ground clearance. We hit a pretty big rut on the trail thanks to all the rain that we've been having in Southern California. And if we had a little bit bigger tire, some more ground clearance, we wouldn't have to get the front bumper repainted and fixed up. It's kind of a casualty of off-roading, but that way at least you know what you need to improve.
Now it's time to get things cleaned up and start working on the suspension. Get it ready for our first trip.
We're going to be putting it to use in a lot of different situations, and so a lot of the stuff that we're going to be doing is kind of function before form. A lot of stuff you see on Auto Revolution is a little more stylized, go for custom looks, custom paint jobs, body work, suspension upgrades that, kind of take after the style of it. But everything that we're going to be doing on this, while it's going to have some style, it's firstly going to be thought of as what function is it going to do? What is it going to do to improve the factory setup? What is it going to do to help us when we're out in the middle of nowhere, whether we're camping or whether we're doing a photo shoot or a video shoot? And what are some of the accessories that we can put on this to turn it into an overall package? Get rid of the bugs.
We took a ride up to LGE CTS Motorsports in San Diego. Not only specialize in customizing off-road trucks, but our full collision shop, so they can correct our little off-road mistake, as well as upgrading the 4Runner suspension.
So the suspension kit from Icon is actually going to take care of a couple different things. Not only is it going to lift the vehicle up a couple inches, which is going to help with ground clearance, being able to fit a little bit bigger tire, which we're going to go to a 33-inch tall tire.
If you go any bigger on the front of a 4Runner, you're going to run into some issues with rubbing, and you're going to have to chop and section the front body mounts. We're going to be upgrading all of this with Icon Vehicle Dynamics Stage 3 suspension setup.
Let me cook grass and shit on. Body bag. finding one side of the bolt so I can slide it past the inner fender liner and this pinch molding right here. So right now I'm measuring the distance between the arm and the center of the heim. Make sure that we're gonna have the correct clearance for the coilovers, and we're gonna have the right caster spread for the alignment from side to side.
The Stage 3 4Runner kit from Icon features a billet upper control arm with their delta joint that has the durability of a ball joint and the performance of a uniball. Now, giving us our lift is Icon's 2.5 series VS aluminum coilovers. These coilovers are adjustable to provide up to a 3.5-inch lift, but are set at the ride height specific for our 4Runner.
If you don't put everything together all at once, the sway bar will always give you issues and will never let everything line up correctly. So now that we're done, we're gonna go ahead and wipe everything down, paint marker everything so we know if it's backed off, loosened, stretched, twisted, whatever.
We are reusing the factory sway bar, but relocating it down and forward a bit to take into account the lift and increased travel.
Since we went ahead and dropped down and moved forward the sway bar, we have to go ahead and space down these brackets for the core support for the radiator with the washers that were supplied and the supplied bolts as well. You're gonna go ahead and take the bracket, put the bolt through, put 2 washers in the front. You're also gonna go ahead and use 1 washer in the back.
Now in the rear, Icon's Stage 3 kit includes a billet lower link bar,
Short spacer and a long spacer. The short spacer goes towards the inside of the vehicle.
Once the bushings are greased, a flush Zerk fitting is installed so there won't be any interference with the link mounts. Now the new coil springs will lift the rear up 2 inches, and it reuses the factory bump stops. It's going to be easier to disconnect the track bar and drop the lower link bars to help get the new spring installed.
Got it here. This one. Where did it go? What did I say?
Everything gets tightened up to mark and will be retorqued after 1,000 miles. One of the main benefits of running a taller tire is increased ground clearance. It's going to help us get over a lot of obstacles, but we're also going to be going with a wider tire, and that's going to give us a little bit more traction, especially when we air down. We're mounting Yokohama's new Geolander XAT tires that are geared towards both highway performance and tackling the dirt. We went with an 18 by 8.5 inch wheel for a bit of an upsized styling over the factory 17s. One of the really cool features of our Black Rhino Duggar wheels are removable rock guards, so we won't have to worry about damaging our wheels out on the trails. With the wheels and tires mounted up and the forerunner on the ground, the track bar is bolted back up and the front end gets aligned.
Alright, so right now I'm going ahead and trimming the inner valance, the inner plastic right here, to provide more clearance for these tires. No vibrations, steering wheel's off a little bit. We're about to hit a nice level spot of ground right here. I'll make sure that the alignment is good. No hands. Alright, so the steering wheel's off to the left a little bit, so we're going to go ahead and adjust the toe out a little bit on the left hand side. Go ahead and get the toe where I want it, and I can straighten the steering wheel at the same time.
With the new wheels and tires and Icon suspension dialed in, we headed a few hours north up to Big Bear. After a quick stop off at Tropicali for lunch, we met up with some friends, including Teresa and Jason from LGE CTS and their Ford Ranger.
Right now we're airing down so that we can get a little more traction, and we're gonna hit the trails and see what this thing can do.
We entered the vast circuit of trails on the north side of Big Bear Lake near Fawnskin. With the new suspension set up on the Forerunner, the trails were like a cruise in the park. Take this road down, it'll loop us back around to where we need to go. And most of the trails up here are pretty moderate, save for a few offshoots and rock gardens. Up here it's all about the forest scenery and exploring some new areas. And of course, we've got to get some of those epic drone shots with inspirational music in the background. Just kidding. We're not going to be turning this into the ultimate Overland Rig. We're going to be turning this into our Overland Rig. So the next steps are going to include some of the gear, protection, and camping setups that we'll need to not only be able to handle photo shoots, but camping trips, overland excursions, and just general day-to-day driving.